All right, guys, it's Throwback Thursday. Give me those throwback videos. Let's see your throwback videos. I may try to give you one. I'll try to look throughout the day and post it, make it a post on my community board. I have over 2,800 videos in which to choose from. So I'll look for that for you, and I may do a community post there. This morning I went through several different police stories. I really couldn't find one where in the last 24 hours or so they posted something that had to do with accountability or transparency or what we do, holding public officials and law enforcement officers accountable. I just really couldn't find anything. The only real thing I found that may have been close was a cop who was off duty trying to get a rifle off his wall, which apparently was loaded because he said he tripped trying to get it off the wall and it discharged, firing a round into the floor of his apartment. Well, apparently the lady who lives downstairs said she heard a bang and then wood and sawdust dust flying through her apartment as she looked up, like what the hell was that? She said a bullet zinged through her apartment. It could happen to anybody. I mean, yeah, I could have did an editorial on that, but I've known people who have done that, discharged a weapon and like, you're an idiot. We had a guy in Germany. He wanted to look at a police officer's, German police officer, Polizei, his pistol, and he thought, well, he's an army soldier, sure. And he discharged it by accident and it went through his knee. Had an MP that accidentally discharged his weapon trying to clear it, and the round fired into a headquarters wall. So I guess what I'm saying is I've seen that before. It happens. I didn't want to do a story on that. But I did choose one. I finally did find one for you. I'm going to give it to you. It's out of North Carolina. I'm going to give you the story first, and then I'm going to give you the actual statement that the police chief released. It's on his website. I'm going to put a link to both of those in the description box below. The story that you can read and the police chief's statements. Now, in the story, I'm not going to read any of the quotes by the chief because it will be redundant when I get to his release statement. He says the same thing in the statement. So I'm not going to do his quotes here because I'll do them when I give you the whole statement. That way I'm not redundant. But we're going to go ahead to North Carolina, and I'm going to give you this. I'm going to let you, you can read it in the description box in full if you want. Also, I was going to say the comment section is open. I'm going to let you comment and let me know how you feel about this story. I'm trying to put my thoughts together but not get ahead of myself. Let's go into it. chapelboro.com out of North Carolina. Thank you. Thank you, Chapelboro, for this story, chapelboro.com. Hillsborough Police Chief Dwayne Hampton, Hillsborough, North Carolina, released a statement addressing a recent interaction of Hillsborough Police Department officers with a man that led to a Facebook video criticizing the officers. The statement said the department's officers acted correctly when responding to a larceny in process call from Wednesday, January 22nd, and engaging with its subject. A video shared on Facebook by the subject afterward claimed the officers were confrontational, disrespectful, and demeaning. Wednesday's release said after a review of body camera footage of the officers involved, the police department determined it did not agree with the claims made by the subject. Hampton said Hillsborough Police began its review of the events upon discovery of the Facebook video, which was shared onto a private Facebook page called Hillsborough, North Carolina Community Info. Now, according to Chief Dwayne Hampton, police received a 911 call from someone in the Hampton Point Boulevard Walmart who said they believed a person they saw planned to steal something from the store. The three officers responded, with two approaching the subject as he prepared to leave and asked him questions. The interaction lasted just more than 9 minutes, and officers told the subject he was free to leave. Now, in the release, which I'm going to read, Hampton acknowledged how being approached by officers, especially when it is determined that no crime has occurred, is embarrassing. Hampton reminded Hillsborough residents to use the department's robust complaint process in which messages can be filed in many ways, including anonymously and through a third party. He said the resident who posted the video has not contacted Hillsborough Police about his experience and invited him to meet and watch the body camera footage together to review the incident. Maybe you can look on YouTube and see if the body camera footage is on or the Facebook video is on YouTube. We can't get into the Facebook group to watch it because it's a closed group. You have to be added. But the release ended with Hampton stressing the importance of having conversations about existing tensions between law enforcement and those who fear officers. He said, though the conversation should not cast his officers or others into an undeserved negative light. I'm going to address that in a second. Chapel Borough has not had the ability to review the video on the private Facebook page. I couldn't either because it's a closed group. But the full statement from Chief Hampton can be found on the Town of Hillsborough website. There you go, website. And I'm going to post the statement and this story in the description box below. I'm also going to read to you the statement right now. But before I even get to that, I wanted to say this, that yes, sometimes, what was I going to address? Sometimes, you can have conversations with law enforcement officers. I myself, I'm not very trusting of the police. I'm really not, because, some officers do step over their authority. Some officers do think they have a badge and they can just have authority over everybody in the world. They will arrest you falsely. Their supervisors will justify that illegal arrest and say, well, you did this, and that's what we're arresting you for, even though it's bullshit. So I'm kind of very standoffish with cops. I've had people criticize me on YouTube and say, why didn't you ask them questions? Why didn't you ask them what's going on? I'm standoffish. I don't want to ask cops questions. I don't want to, know what's going on. I'll record what's going on for accountability and transparency. I may narrate or commentate on it and then put it on YouTube. But I'm not going to stand and ask, hey, so what happened? Or I don't want to engage with cops unless they come up to engage with me. They come up and start talking to me, yeah, I'll talk to them and I'll be polite and I'll be, considerate. That's called maturity. But just to actually go and engage with the police, I don't trust myself to do that, because I don't know what type of reaction I'll get. I could get a cop that just doesn't like cameras and decides he's just going to hem me up or, tell me, you need to step back. And by the way, let me address that. That's one of the things I'm talking about. When you see me act negative towards law enforcement, it's usually because they are overstepping their authority. So California Penal Code 148 subsection G states that videography and photography alone cannot be deemed suspicious activity. But you'll see it where you'll be standing there and just video recording, and the cops will tell you, you need to go back. You need to go back. And you're already like 30 feet away, or 35 feet away. And they're like, I need room to work here. I'm doing a traffic stop. First and foremost, if you're not close enough to be interfering, impeding, obstructing, delaying, or any of those things, then you're not violating 148A, subsection A. So the cop is basically just exerting authority over a law-abiding citizen that's practicing or exercising a constitutionally protected activity. And they say, well, that's because people, it only takes seconds to run 20 feet to stab or attack an officer. Well, if you live under that type of paranoia, you need another job, because you're going to end up shooting somebody or hurting somebody for no reason. So that 20-foot thing is bullshit. It's an officer who's paranoid because, officers have been shot. Well, yeah, people have been robbed too, but we still let people pass by us on the sidewalk. People have been stabbed and mugged, but they still walk past people on the sidewalk. They don't go, hey, don't come near me, dude, because I don't know, you could be trying to rob me right now. And the person would be like, I'm walking by. What the fuck's your problem? And that's how we look at you law enforcement officers when you go, you need to step back and give me room to work. And I'm like 35 feet away. Like, are you fucking crazy? So when you see me act negative with an officer, that's usually why. If an officer, that one officer that said, watch out for this, he's recording us. Yeah, I am. What the hell's your problem? What are you, like, freaking on, decaf, man, decaf and less red meat. Because there was no reason for him to say that. That was an intimidation thing. That was a thing of like, hey, we know you're recording us. Yeah, I know you know you. I'm standing right here with my camera. Shut up and get back to work. Yeah, that's one of those things. Sometimes you have to educate the officer. Sometimes you have to let them know, Right now, you're being unprofessional, and I'm going to be unprofessional back to you. See, you get what you give. When officers are polite and say, how you doing? Hi, Mom. Hey, that's what you should be doing to camera people. When you officers see cop watchers, you should be going, hi, what's up? That's what you should be doing. Not, you need to back up. Give me room to work. How much room do you need to do a vehicle search? I'm giving you 30 feet. What are you, searching the whole city or just that car? So anyway, I digress, but that's my little bit of an explanation on, when you become negative with the police officers or law enforcement is when they overstep their authority, when they decide that I'm going to give this guy directives or just, I don't want to be recorded. I really don't want a camera here. I'm at work. I'm trying to do my job. I don't want to be recorded. Well, then find another job. Find a job in a cubicle somewhere where nobody records you and you can do paperwork and talk on the phone. You're a cop, you're a law enforcement officer, you're out on the street, you're going to be recorded. This is how it is. You can come record me if you want. I don't care. I'll be like, hey, how you doing, Mom? I'm working here. Yeah, there you go. And I'm going to type on my computer. I don't care. And if you care, then you're in the wrong line of work. But we're going to get to the chief's statements, which kind of go in line with what I've just said as far as interacting with the police. But I was saying, too, I'm sorry I talk a lot. I can't help it. There's no way for me to talk less. But I was going to say, too, it's okay to be mature with the police. You don't have to flip them off and yell at them and go, you bunch of cop tyrant mother effers. You don't have to do all of that. Okay, I mean, that's immature. It's childish. I'm sorry if I offend any of you cop watchers or anyone in the community, but it really is. But also to law enforcement officers, when you see someone with a camera, don't start trying to exert authority and go, you need to get back, and the guy's 40 feet away. Are you fucking crazy? Shut up and get back to work. You know what I mean? Now, if it's a crime scene and, you're trying to investigate bullets or something, tape it off and say, this is the yellow tape. Just stay behind the yellow tape and we'll be fine. Cool. Okay? But don't be on a traffic stop searching the back seat, see a guy 40 feet away and go, you need to go back. You need to shut up. Okay? So here we go. This is the chief's official statement. The following statement is released from the Hillsborough, North Carolina Police Chief Dwayne Hampton in response to concerns regarding a citizen's interaction with police officers on January 22nd at Walmart Supercenter, 501-B Hampton Point Boulevard in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Concerns were raised after the citizen posted a video on a social media discussion discussing the interaction. On Tuesday, January 28th, we became aware of a video that was shared to the Hillsborough, North Carolina Community Info Facebook page. In this video, a citizen discusses an experience he had with the Hillsborough police officers on Wednesday, January 22nd. In his video, the citizen describes the encounter as being very confrontational and describes an officer as being angry, disrespectful, and demeaning. He says the officers told him twice that they did not care about explanations he was giving or comments he made. Upon seeing the video, we immediately started reviewing the body-worn camera footage from all of the officers who were involved in the encounter, as well as gathering information about the 911 call that prompted the police response and what was relayed to the officers by dispatchers. They always blame dispatch. The interaction and the officers' behavior recorded on the body-worn cameras do not agree with how the incident was portrayed in the citizen's video. Now that you got to be careful with, because I submitted a complaint of a deputy who literally was unprofessional towards me, and it was found to be unjustified or unfounded. Okay, sorry, we move on. On January 22nd, the officers were dispatched to a larceny in progress at Walmart Supercenter and were provided a detailed description. The officers also spoke directly with a 911 caller, an African-American man who is a Hillsborough native and known to the officers. They were told specific details about how the subject was acting that led the caller to believe the subject was attempting to steal from the store. One officer initially approached the subject as he was preparing to exit the store, with a second officer joining him moments later. The third officer, a supervisor, came into the store about 5 minutes into the encounter. The encounter, from the time the first officer asked if he could speak with the citizen until he told the citizen he was free to leave lasted just over 9 minutes. At no time did the officers appear angry, disrespectful, or demeaning to the citizen. At no time did they say they did not care about anything he said. They were polite, professional throughout the encounter, and they repeatedly tried to explain why they were there and to answer his questions. When the encounter was over, the primary officer apologized twice. Where was it? They said, so the guy who made the video was the one who said the officers said they did not care. He says, and the chief says in the body-worn camera footage, he didn't hear them say that. So moving on, the Hillsborough Police Department works hard to respect the rights of others while providing service to our community. We are aware of the issues of race and the justice system, and we recognize the significant challenges that people of color may face when interacting with law enforcement. Try not to be boring here. We provide training to our officers so they can recognize bias and understanding equity issues, and so they can avoid being drawn into situations of profiling by proxy. We completely agree that being stopped by police, especially when it is determined that no crime has occurred, can be embarrassing. Police officers rarely have the luxury of having 100% accurate information and frequently are called to investigate situations that seem suspicious or criminal initially, but later turn out not to be. One thing I want to add here, one thing you law enforcement officers can do is practice on how you speak to people as well. Give you an example. I had one deputy come up to me one time and say, but didn't you go up and try to open this door here and you were trying to get in and they told you, no, you need to stay out and you wouldn't go away? I'm like, no, it's okay, because that's what they said. So he was blaming me for doing something because someone told him I was doing it. Instead of saying, okay, I was told that this happened and this happened. Is this true? No. Okay. He said, didn't you went up and did this and this? He was telling me what I was doing. I said, no. And when I mentioned it to the sergeant, he said, well, dispatch told us that. Well, your cop doesn't know how to talk to people then. Now, you law enforcement officers may disagree with me on that, but it is true that when you have to understand, when a cop says something to somebody, it's interpreted 8 different ways. And so instead of making it a statement or even a question as if you're accusing, instead of an accusation, make it a question. Is it true that you did this or that? That's what we were told. No? Okay. Instead of saying you went up and you did this and this. No, I didn't. Okay, see what I'm saying? There's a difference between an accusation and an actual inquiry question. Does that make sense, or am I confusing here? I'm going to move on because I'm out of time. We also recognize, this is the chief, the anger that should rightfully come with having the police called because someone is being suspicious, when the only suspicious thing is the person's race. It is inappropriate and wrong for officers to be called just because an African-American man is in a store too long. Philadelphia, Starbucks. That is not what happened in this situation. The 911 caller described specific behaviors that led him to believe the subject was attempting to steal. He also stayed on scene to speak with the officer when the officer arrived. Additionally, after the primary officer disengaged from the encounter, he learned there were others in the store who had witnessed the subject's behaviors and believed he may have been trying to attempt a theft. Anytime citizens have an encounter with an officer they don't believe is correct, the best course of action is to comply with what the officer is asking and then complain to the agency about what happened. Make a police complaint. Citizens may lodge a complaint with the Hillsborough Police Department in person, by email, through Facebook, through a third party, and even anonymously, which is bullshit. Those complaints, I wiped my butt with the one they gave me because they said it was unfounded, which it wasn't, in my humble opinion. Moving on, I digress. We have a robust complaint process and take every complaint seriously. I applaud the citizen for complying with the officer's request in this situation, even though he did not agree with what was going on. We have not been contacted by him about his experience. I welcome and invite the citizen to contact us. We would be happy to meet with him, sit down, and view the body camera footage together to try to understand where he feels the officer showed anger or disrespect toward him. Because of the community concern that has been expressed since the citizen posted his video and because of our desire to be transparent, we are also exploring what would be involved in releasing the footage to allow the community to see the interaction for themselves. We recognize that some members of our community feel fear and concern about interacting with law enforcement, and that these feelings may be based on their own experiences and the bad, even tragic experiences that people have had across our country when dealing with law enforcement. Especially if you have a camera. They don't like being recorded. Some don't. Some are great. They'll come up and shake your hand and say, "How you doing, buddy?" However, to have the actions of our officers publicly mischaracterized in a negative way also contributes to and perpetuates this fear, and that is not acceptable. And I agree with that. I agree. The officers in this situation responded appropriately and did not behave in the manner portrayed. The desire to bring attention to and start conversations about the important issues of race and fear and law enforcement are very important and should be happening more. But it should not be done at the expense of our officers by casting them in an undeserved negative light. I agree with that. We are currently planning our annual community summit for later in February and would welcome continued discussion on this or any other topic. Hillsborough is a wonderful community, and I am proud of the officers who serve here. It is regrettable that this situation would cast a shadow on our town and the police department, but I sincerely hope we can all learn from it and become stronger together. Dwayne Hampton, Police Chief, Hillsborough, North Carolina. Now, I haven't seen any of the videos, so I really can't comment on if the officers did right or wrong. I just basically, all the statements I made in this video were basically generalized statements based on my own experiences with law enforcement officers locally here. And I've seen cop watching videos where people treated officers unfairly. But I have to go. I'm out of time. Thank you guys for watching Community Leo Watch, watching Leos, that's law enforcement officers across your nation. This is really long, but there's no way to make it shorter. I hope you're still watching. If you are, God bless you guys on Throwback Thursday. Let me know how you feel about this in the comment section below, or anything dealing with interactions with cops and what could be improved on. Thank you guys.